morning, class. Okay. Today we're going to talk about flooding. How many people have experienced a flood before? By a show of hands. One person has experienced a flood. Okay. How many people have seen photographs of a flood? Wonderful. Okay. So most of our lessons today will talk about the effects of flooding and the different types of flooding and what causes flooding. To commence, we are going to have a short view at a video. After we watch the video, there's going to be an activity that I'd like you to complete that states instant reaction. Right? And there are 3 items for you to complete. So you'll watch the video and then complete this activity called instant reaction. Now, what does it mean by instant reaction? I need you to write in 3 sentences what feelings, thoughts, or ideas were brought out through the video. Any questions? By a show of hands, how many people understand what they're supposed to do? Okay, some hands are down, so I'll repeat. We're going to watch a video. And after watching the video, you complete this activity sheet called instant reaction. There are 3 items for you to fill out. And on those lines, you're going to tell me what thoughts or feelings or ideas was brought out from the video. Kindly write your name on the paper, and this activity will be done individually. Okay, let's focus on the video.
An unknown number of people are dead or missing after flood-ravaged Queensland was swamped yet again by torrential rain. Hardest hit was the city of Toowoomba, where residents, cars and buildings were swept away as streets became raging rivers.
It is a sight this state, this city, has never witnessed. Toowoomba is a disaster zone, a city perched on a hill under a torrent of surging water, picking up cars, swamping the CBD and tragically claiming lives. It's feared 2 women were swept away to their deaths as West Creek broke its banks and the water rushed through town. A body was found in a drain late this afternoon. The flash flood hit just after lunch, 115 mils that fell in an hour. And amidst all the carnage, courage, authorities raced to rescue people trapped by the sudden surge. People clung to what they could. Nursing homes and childcare centres were evacuated. Some stranded were asked to stay put, with no emergency services able to help. Others couldn't wait, and Swiftwater teams did what they could to get to them in hellish conditions. Down at Helidon, it's just as bad. Desperate and alone, people are stranded on the roofs of their homes, waiting for help that for the moment can't reach them. The roads all around this area are cut, and it's almost too dangerous for helicopters to fly. The few that can be saved are the lucky ones. Authorities rush to get to this house, a woman and her cat pulled to safety. In the Lockyer Valley, the tiny town of Esk was the next emergency.
We've just heard the news that Esk is completely under.
Yes, there's a house floating down the creek.
You're joking?
No.
Locals say Sandy Creek went up 3 metres in 10 minutes, and they didn't stand a chance. Reports of some 50 people rescued as the water rose. Cameron Price, 9 News.
Now to the activity instant reaction. Before we have any type of discussion, I'd like you to fill out your activity sheets. What are 3 thoughts, feelings, or ideas that was brought out in that video? 3, 2, 1. Okay. Let's share some thoughts and ideas. Volunteers, what were some of the thoughts, ideas, instant reactions that you had after watching the video? And let's not be shy. Yes.
People are running and escaping for their lives.
People are running and escaping for their lives. Excellent. Someone else? Edwin.
How will they recover?
How will they recover? Excellent. Someone else?
Devastation.
Devastation. Wonderful. Can I have a female?
Everyone is panicked.
2 more suggestions. Anna, what did you think?
Everybody's in need of help.
Everybody is in need of help. 1 more. Alexander.
Strong flooding, terrifying people.
Strong flooding, terrifying people. Thank you for those thoughts and ideas. Now, it was a scary video, wasn't it? A bit scary. What did we see happening in the video? What happened to the vehicles? Stephen? They were being washed away. You see anything happening to people? What were some of the effects on people? Okay, we saw no people. We didn't see any people. Edwin?
Need to rescue other people that were in danger.
They felt the need to assist and rescue other people that were in danger. What type of flood did the announcer mention it was? He said that this was a particular flood. Rolis, what kind of flood did he mention?
A flash flood.
Okay, so he mentioned a flash flood. Now, in the beginning, the news anchor said that it was a flash flood caused by something. Do we recall what it was caused by? What caused the flash floods to occur? Did a dam break? Was there a tsunami? They mentioned something in particular that caused the flood to occur. Can anybody recall? Okay, you can't. She said torrential rains. Right? So she said that torrential rains had caused the flood to occur. So there was a constant outpour of rain for several days. And the village of Toowoomba, which is located in Queensland in Australia, is more or less situated on hills. And that is the reasons for it causing the flash floods also. Now, we've seen the video with a flood. So then, what is a flood? Edwin?
I think a flood is excessive amount of water that washes away topsoil and anything that is in its path, and can be a source of lots of diseases and bacteria after it has happened.
Okay, wonderful explanation. Anyone else? What is a flood? Alexander?
I think when a large body of water washing away what is on its way.
Okay, so a large body of water washing away what is in its path. Okay, those are wonderful definitions. So then we have a definition up here to share with you. And a flood is an overflow of an expanse of water that submerges land, right? So technically speaking, it's some of the same definitions that you just shared with me. An expanse meaning a large body of water that washes away anything that is in its path, whether it's land, vehicles, houses, water, etc. Now, we're going to continue discussing the definition of flooding. We're also going to continue to discuss what causes floods and what are the different types of floods. But before we do that, we have an experiment that we're going to engage in. And if you can kindly turn to page 73 of your student activity booklet. Page 73. We're going to read the instructions and then get our hands dirty. Who likes to get their hands dirty? Not a nice feeling? Well, we're going to love it today. Right? So it says you and your team are scientists. So put on your science cap. You will investigate how water moves in your environment. What will you need? A cardboard box with soil, which is in front of you. Toys, cars, houses, building, animals, trees. You'll find some of those in here. Water, your spray bottles. Now, you're going to mold the soil into hills, valleys, and stream beds. So you're going to take the soil and create little hills and little valleys and little streamways for water to flow. You're going to place the toy buildings, cars, animals, and houses, etc. into the landscape to create a little town or village-like situation. You're going to fill the spray bottles with water, which is already done for you. You're going to spray the water onto the stream table to simulate rain, right? And so the bottles are already set at rain simulation, so when you spray them, it's going to come out like rain. After doing that, you're going to answer questions. Question number 1, which says, what happens when the water hits the ground? What happens when larger amounts of waters are poured? Open the nozzles of the spray bottles and let larger amounts of water pour onto the landscape, simulating a heavy rainstorm. So you're going to adjust the nozzles of the bottles and you're going to pump a little bit quicker, more pressure, so that we can stimulate a heavy rainfall. Are there any questions? After that, we're going to complete numbers 2 and 3. Now, let's get our hands dirty. We're going to follow the instructions. Keep the instructions in front of you. There are 3 of you in each group, with the exception of Kyle and Daisy, who are 2. And so the 3 of you are going to work together to create valleys, hills, and stream beds, riverways, your little towns, and you're going to simulate rainfall and heavy rainfall. Are we clear? Are we clear? Good, wonderful. So let's start getting our hands dirty then. I don't need a professional piece of work. Girls, you can help to get your hands dirty, you know. Put it back in the middle, Edwin. Let these girls begin too. So one person can be in charge of creating the tongue while somebody else is creating hills and another person is creating rivers. I want to see everybody's hands getting dirty. With your piece of work, continue following the instructions. Remember, we're creating rain. Remember, it says when you spray, you're supposed to observe what happens, okay? People, kindly don't be afraid to use this. So we spray like rain, okay? Are you looking, Edwin, Leticia? All right, we spray like rain. Number one, and then I want to see some heavy rain. Remember, for heavy rain, you need to adjust the nozzles. Adjust the nozzle, Edwin, for heavy rain. So the water comes out with more pressure and more forceful. Still afraid? Heavy rain. Right? So spray heavy rain. You're spraying on the soil, right? Okay, so we built or sculpted our hills and valleys and streams or rivers. We created a little town or village, and we also did some rain simulation. We did a simulation for light rain, and we did a simulation for heavy rain. What happens when the water hits the ground? What happens when the water hits the ground? Steven?
It's splashed.
It's splashed. Okay, what else? Kyle?
The ground became moist.
The ground became moist. Yes, Daisy?
It is being soaked into the land.
Okay, it is being soaked into the land, and for you very smart people who were here last week, what do we call the process where water is soaked into the land? All right, Yadira?
Infiltration.
Infiltration. Give her a little tiny clap. Very good. What happens when larger amounts of water are poured? When you simulated heavy rain, what happens when larger amounts of water is poured? Evelyn?
Soil is washed away, slopes are eroded.
Repeat.
Soil is washed away.
Okay, soil is washed away. Good answer, Mr. Elliott.
When the heavy water hit the surface, it destroyed the soil and damaged many of the objects.
Okay, it destroyed the soil and damaged many of the objects. One more person. Edwin.
Erosion starts taking place and it washes away the things in its path.
Erosion starts taking place and it washes away things in its path. Okay, wonderful answers. Is water absorbed? Yes. By a show of hands. Is water absorbed? Raise your hands if you're sure. Okay, I have a few people who aren't sure. Rosalina is like this, maybe. Right? Where does the runoff go? What happens to the excess water?
The excess water flows downhill into the river, and wherever it can go down, gravity carries it.
Okay, so the excess water flows down. Anyone else? Rosalina, do you agree with him? Okay, so your excess water flowed into the river too? Alright. Yadira?
Some of it is absorbed by the land.
Some of it is absorbed by the land. Okay. Good responses. So we know now that some of the water has been absorbed, and the excess water that was not absorbed was created a runoff, right? And the runoff went into the rivers and stream beds and so forth that you created. Now, some of it was also absorbed because of the type of material we're using, so you won't see much of the water there anymore. But had it been a plastic container and so forth, you would have seen some of the water still there in the rivers and stream bed areas. When we talk about the absorption of the water, the infiltration, what are some of the factors that made some of this water absorb? What caused the water to absorb? Yemi, you have any ideas? What caused the water to absorb? No? Yadira, would you like to share some?
The particles were a little big.
The particles were already big. And when we talk about particles, we're referring to what? Today?
The stones.
The stones, okay. And this is what type of soil, Edwin?
Gravel.
Gravel, okay. So perhaps then that the water was observed more quickly because of the type of soils. Now when we think about areas that we live in our country, Belize, do we have the same type of soil in every single area of the country? Okay. How many people live around mountainous areas? Does anybody here live around hills or so? Evelyn, what type of soil would you find around your home? What kind of fine sand? What kind of soil? Agricultural soil? What kind? Clay. Okay, so around the areas that you live, you find more clay. All right, does anybody live around any area that has a lot of agricultural soil? Do we know what we mean by agricultural soil? AKA black dirt, right? Daisy, you live around a lot of agricultural soil, okay. And how about gravel? Does anybody live where there's a lot of gravel? Kyle, you live where there's a lot of gravel, okay. I'm assuming you live in the city, Kyle, and you're referring to that type of soil as gravel. Okay, we work with that then. So it depends on the absorption rate of the soil that would allow an area to be more prone to flash flooding and so forth, and areas that are more hilly or more mountainous than others. So then what would cause flooding? What would be the effects of flooding versus the type of soil that we have in the area that we live in? To find that out, we're going to conduct another experiment. And you have these plastic bottles with some funnels on top and filter paper. And in front of you, you have some cups of water, and each cup has in the same amount of water. Turn to page 74 of your activity booklet. And you're going to investigate which type of soil retains the most water. In 5 minutes. Which type of soil retains the most water in 5 minutes? And Mr. Torres is going to be our humble timer. What do you need? You need 3 soil samples: sand, agricultural soil, and clay, which you have in front of you. Am I right? Does anybody have something different? No? You have water. We're not using the measuring cups, we're using these plastic bottles. And you have your funnels here that is attached with filter paper and rubber band. And what you're going to do, we're going to observe how the soil retains water for over 5 minutes. And after that, we're going to measure the amount of milliliters of water that is in here. There's a table on the following page where you're going to record this information. Can you see the table? If you can't see the table, raise your hands. I'm going to get you some glasses. Edwin, you can't see the table? Okay, you can see the table. After you've made the recordings, you're going to discuss the following. What characteristics do you think determine how much water soil can hold? What are the characteristics that determine how much water soil can hold? And you're going to measure this in sorry, in centimeters, which is on your rulers, sorry. You have inches and centimeters. So you're going to measure it in centimeters. My apologies. So are we ready to begin then? All right, let's pour the water into the funnels and start observing. Go ahead, try to do them at the same time. Mr. Torres has now set the timer for 5 minutes. Okay, let's start to record our observations. You record your observations in the table and then you answer the discussion question. Record your measurements on the table and then you answer your discussion questions. Let's look at your observations, which should be quite interesting. We were to pour the water into the funnel and measure the water retention of the type of soil. Now we had 3 types of soil, which is clay. We had another, which is agricultural soil, and we had sand and gravel. Now what are your observations? What are some of the observations that were made? Do I need to pick a group? Irma, what are some of the observations that you made, or that your group made?
In the sand, the particles are fine and the water doesn't infiltrate as in agricultural soil and gravel.
Okay. Alright, so you found out that the water went through the agricultural soil more quickly as opposed to the gravel, the sand and gravel. Is that what you're saying? Yes? Okay. Anyone else? Edwin, what about your group?
The water from the clay drained out quicker than both of the other soil samples.
Okay. The water from the clay drained out quicker than other soil samples. Now there is a group here who had a different experience with their clay. Kyle, what was your experience with clay?
My experience was that clay has the best water retention other than the other 2 soil.
And why would you say that clay has the best water retention?
I would say that because when put together properly, clay water can seep through it very easily.
When put together properly, water can't seep through clay easily. Now Edwin said that his clay had the least water retention, Kyle, but you're making a different claim. What's the difference between Edwin's clay and your clay? I thought they were all clay.
Well, the soil were supposed to be pressed down properly to see which one has the best water retention, and then when you press down the clay properly, they have less less air between the particles, so it is harder to go through the clay.
Okay. Stephen, you had something to share. Let me hear it.
Number one, the clay, the water went through it fast because it had lot. It didn't. Well, it wasn't pressed, packed, compact. So the water went through it easily.
It was not compact, so the water went through it easily. Kyle, can you show us your clay, your compact clay? All right, very good. Now, class, I would like you to compact your clay. Compact your clay. Pour the water from out of the bottle. Pour the water from out of the bottle back into the cup. And we're going to see if Kyle performed magic on his clay or if what he is saying is true. To see if by chance Kyle's group received a different clay than ours. Have we compacted our clay? All right, let's try this again. Pour your water. And we are going to time for 2 minutes and you make your observation. There was no cheating, everything is compact. Now group, kindly record the observations with your clay. And see if your response has changed. What characteristics do you think determine how much water soil can hold? All right then. Did Kyle have magic clay? Yes? Did your clay retain water or not? So what happened to the clay? Yes, Edwin.
I observed that when different soils, in this case clay, when compact and there is little air space in it, it retains water more easier. So
okay,
the tighter the soil is, the more water it retains.
Good. So then, let's look at this. We have sand and gravel, we have agricultural soil, we have clay. So let's say there is an area in our country that has a lot of clay, and we have a lot of torrential rains and so occurring. What is most likely to occur when water hits that clay? What is most likely to occur? Will there be a high absorption rate? If there's not a high absorption rate, what is most likely to occur? Give me an example. Yes, Daisy.
Since the water can be absorbed in the clay soil, will be causing flood.
Okay, it will cause flood, but before it gets to flood, there's a term that we use that you learned in the water cycle, and that term is called, it begins with an R. Yadira? The water, it causes a higher runoff rate, which means that the water will more than likely find its way into a stream or a river more quickly. And when that happens, it increases the chances of a flood. But what kind of flood? It increases the chances of a flash flood. While we have the agricultural soil that has a higher absorption rate and the gravel, we notice that some of the water will more than likely be observed as opposed to the water that hits the clay. Are there any questions? Do we understand why Kyle's group does not have magic clay? Right. So we found out then that we needed to ensure that the clay was compressed to simulate a real life setting for where we would find clay. Now, after we've done these experiments, we need to start to explore then, and we found out that we have water going into streams and beds and rivers through runoff and so forth. we need to discuss then what really causes flooding. Flooding can be caused by a range of situations that include seawater flooding. Has anybody here witnessed a seawater flooding? I have. I've lived in Belize City and I've witnessed that. It says it can occur coastal areas that may be flooded when hurricane, cyclone, or severe storm causes a surge of seawater. And if you look at the photograph, you see an example. Notice the coconut trees where it has the shoreline in front of it and the water hitting up against the rocks. So you can notice then that whenever there's a severe storm or a surge of water, it can cause that type of flooding, seawater flooding. The next type of flooding is called tidal flooding. What does the word tidal refer to? Yes, Chrisia?
It refers to tides.
Tides, right? Or high and low tides. And this type of floods are floods that are caused by high tides, which coincides with higher than normal river levels. How many people have witnessed a low tide? Nobody here has ever witnessed a low tide? All right, how many people have witnessed the opposite, which is a high tide? Kyle, since you live in the city, have you ever witnessed a high or low tide? Yes, but you did not raise your hand, Kyle. Would you like to share what are the characteristics of a low tide? What a low tide looks like?
Low tide is when the seawater is very low, like you can see the seabed.
Okay, you can see the bottom of the seabed. How many of you have noticed that there are times when it has not rained a lot, but our drains that are usually filled with water are at a normal level, and then probably overnight, you'll notice that it did not rain, but the water levels in the drains have raised. Has anybody noticed that before? Okay, Kyle and Stephen has. So we're in an area where I work that is near the sea. Whenever there's a high tide, the drains fill up until even the street is filled with water. If we have guests at the house, they cannot enter into the house without using our rubber boots. There's no rain that caused it. There's no seawater flooding that caused it. There wasn't any severe storm, but it was a tidal flooding. And we are going to ask Kyle next week to bring some photographs of that to let you see what a tidal flooding is. Okay, Kyle? Wonderful. The next type of flooding that we would witness is runoff from rivers and dams. And this can be caused when river systems all need to carry more water one time following a snow melt or when dams start to overflow. Now, does Belize have snow? How many of you have witnessed snow in Belize? So more than likely, we would not experience one of those type of flooding from snow melt. Does Belize have a dam? That was a quick yes. Where is our dam located? Raise your hand. Yes, Daisy, where is our dam located?
It is located at Cayo.
It is located in Cayo. Okay, and I'm thinking you do not know the specifics of exactly where in Cayo it is located. And that seems like an assignment, doesn't it? Edwin?
Isn't it one by the RNL border entry around going to Mountain Pine Ridge, somewhere around that area? Then there has another one. There's another one. I think it's a reservoir in Kamalote, by the Birdwatch area. There's a reservoir there.
Wonderful suggestions, Edwin, but if I don't know where Kamalote area is and I don't know where Mountain Pine Ridge is, you're speaking gibberish to me, right? So we need then to research where we have our dam and where it is located, class, right? And I know that you guys have access to a computer using your computer station, so that will be done 5 minutes during your lunch period. On Google, you're going to find out where our dam is located. Is that going to be a difficult task? 5 minutes out of your lunch period, and you are going to share that with me. Also, have you ever heard of our dam overflowing? Yes. You have? Excellent. Why would our dam overflow? Stephen? Due to the rain. Due to rains, okay. So we probably had torrential rains. Edwin?
Sometimes the valves that, because dams have valves that need to open every now and then, so water can be released. Sometimes they fail and water can't be released, so probably that's why water has to go over it.
Okay, so we might have the effect of a natural disaster, or we can have a mechanical effect, but we would hope that there are persons who are there who can address those issues as easily. So before we move on, your assignment is to do what? Release, can you remember what it is?
Find or locate where our dam is.
Find and locate where our dam is located. Excellent. Now, we move to another type of flooding, and it is called urban drainage, where flash flooding, that is a serious problem in some cities, when the drainage system fails. People can be caught in storm drains, trapped in their cars, or even swept off the roads by water. So this happens when we have drainage systems in a certain village, town, or city, and these drainage systems fail. They can fail for various reasons. It could have been clogging, and so we find out that it causes the cities to flood. Now, we know that these things cause flooding. What then are the types of flooding that may occur? Can anybody share with me what types of flooding may occur? When we watched the video in Toowoomba in Australia, what type of flooding did we see?
We saw a flash flood.
We saw a flash flood. Excellent. So that could probably be one type of flooding. Is there any other type of flooding that you are familiar with? Yes, Rolly?
Runoff flooding.
Okay, she says flooding that are caused by runoffs. Anyone has another suggestion? Yes, Yadira? Tidal flooding, okay. We discussed a little while ago the causes of flooding, right? And so tidal might be one of the reasons why we might have flooding, right? So that will be one of the causes of flooding. But we have 3 types of flooding. And the 3 types of flooding, the common types are slow onset floods. And these floods may take days to build up. They can last for more than 1 week and can even last for months on some occasions. The damage caused by floods in these areas can lead to major loss of livestock, cutting of rural towns, and damaging crops, major roads, and railways. The next type of flooding that we are very familiar with will be the flash flood. Flash flooding results from relatively short, intense bursts of rainfall, often from thunderstorms. And that is what you simulated a little while ago in your sculptures. This type of flood causes the greatest loss of life. Why would it cause a great loss of life? Why would a flash flood cause the greatest loss of life? Yes, Edwin.
Cause the greatest cost of life because it's a flash flood, so it happens very quickly, and some people don't have enough time to react to it. So
okay, it's very unexpected, isn't it? Very unexpected. People are often swept away after entering floodwaters on foot or in vehicles. These floods can also result in significant property damage and major social disruption. They are a serious problem in urban areas where drainage systems are often unable to cope with the swift buildup of water. And the last type of flood would be a rapid onset flood. It occurs more quickly than slow onset floods, and these floods can potentially be more damaging and can pose a greater risk to loss of life and property. This is because there is generally much less time to take preventative action, and a faster, more dangerous flow of water can appear. This type of flooding can affect most of our major towns and cities. So then, class, what are the 3 types of floods? Yadira, can you share one with me?
Rapid onset floods.
Rapid onset flood. Do you have any characteristics to share about that type of flood?
They are unpreventative, like
they come quickly. Kyle?
Flash floods.
Flash floods. Would you like to describe flash floods for us?
They are very unexpected.
Okay.
And happen very fast.
Very unexpected and occur very quickly. And can we have another person sharing the last type of flood that we discussed? Edwin?
Slow onset flooding, and they take days to build up and can be prevented because the people can move out from the area.
Okay, wonderful. Now, when we have floods in our areas, what type of preparation or reaction do you think is needed? What type of preparation or reaction is needed? Evelyn shared with us that she has experienced a flood before. Isn't that so, Evelyn? It wasn't Evelyn who shared that? Okay, sorry. Daisy. Did you have time to prepare, Daisy? Why didn't you have time to prepare?
Because the flood was overnight while we were sleeping. So like when we get up, like around 1 o'clock, we see like water underneath our house, and so we had to get a piece of wood, like a wood, and then put it on the other hill because I had another hills, and then through the window we had to jump out of the window and walk over that little wood over the next hill, and over the next hill they had a next lake. We had to like build our own bridges so we can cross over them and go to safer lands. So we didn't have time to like pack food or clothes or things like that.
Okay. What experience did you have after the flood? When you realized that you didn't have time to pack anything, what did you do immediately?
Well, my brother, he was the older, so he got a log, and then light log, and he went on it and went on where the kitchen was, and he got some food. Luckily we had some food because that was overnight on Saturday, and we got paid on Saturday, so we had like some canned food, and then we had some vegetables stored in the higher places. So he got them off and he carried them, and we had to like since the place was like all muddy up, we had to put like some log on the ground so we could build our fire.
Now, if you turn to pages 79 of your activity booklet, we would like you to share some ideas after seeing the video with flooding and after sharing information about what causes flooding and the different types of flooding. We would like you to suggest a flood preparedness plan. And it states that you share some ideas what you would do if you have something like a low onset flood coming. What would you do before a flood? What would happen during a flood? And what would you suggest after a flood? So you can do those in your group activities. Fill out that information and then we're going to share. Now, so a flood preparedness plan. We were to devise one, and we also had Daisy sharing some of her experience when she woke up one morning to an unexpected flood. What then are some of the warnings, or what can you advise someone to do before a flood? What are some of the things that you can share with someone? Yes, Edwin.
I would advise anyone to have a ready packed supply of whatever you think you would need in case of a flash flood or any flood.
Okay. Kyle?
I always have canned foods.
Always have canned foods available. Someone else? Yes, Irma?
Go to a safe place, for example, a hurricane shelter.
Go to a safe place, for example, a shelter or higher ground. Yes, Stephen?
Important documents.
Always have important documents put away. Okay. Now going to a safe place and higher ground would mean, and this is in reference to before a flood. So if we would have before a flood comes, would it be wise if you live in mountainous areas to live in probably, or in areas that you know are flood prone, would it be wise to build low houses? So what kind of houses would you suggest that people build? High houses, or what we call houses on stilts. For example, what you see here, this is a house on stilts. So when you're in flood-prone areas, or especially in our country, Belize, that is below sea level, it is advised that you build houses on stilts, right? Some of them are on wooden stilts, some of them are on concrete stilts, what we call piles or blocks, and it protects us or prevents us from getting more damage or more affected when a flood occurs. What would you suggest someone do during a flood? Yes, Edwin.
Gather everyone or your family members with you. Gather your family members.
Ensure that all of your family members are together. Here we have one suggestion: never try to walk or swim through flowing water. Someone else? Kyle?
Stay far from the water. Stay far from the water.
Try to stay away from the water. Rosalina?
Don't go near electricity.
Okay, try not to go where there is electricity. What about moving to higher ground? If you can, if it's possible. Right? If it's during a flood, if you're inside, if you can go, if you noticed in the video, some people even went on their rooftop, right, to try and protect themselves. So you try and you go to higher ground. Now, after a flood, what advice would you give after a flood? You have absolutely no idea what to tell somebody to do after a flood. With the exception of Stephen and Yadira. Yes, Stephen?
Never walk barefooted on the street because it could be broken pint or glass is broken.
Okay, so don't walk barefooted or so in the street because you don't know what is in the water. Usually when we have a flooding, the water is usually dark and mucky. Any other suggestion? Yadira, you had one?
Do not move from where you are until told to do so.
Do not move from where you are until told to do so. Okay. Anyone else? Edwin?
Avoid cuts from dirty water to avoid infections.
Avoid cuts from dirty water. Would you suggest that people consume the water, to drink the water? Right? So it would also be good to be knowledgeable of ways of how you can purify water. There are several ways to purify dirty water. So your flood preparedness plan will then be posted and suggested. And I also encourage you to find out other ways that you can advise persons when it comes to dealing with a flood. Now, to wrap up our lessons, I'd just like you to quickly review with me some of the things that causes a flood. What are some of the things we said that causes flood? What are some of the things we shared? What causes floods? Yes, Yadira? Runoffs, okay. Daisy? Tidal floods, of which Kyle is going to bring photographs for us next week. What else? Something in reference to your assignment that you're going to complete in a while. Okay, dams, river dams. And what about seawater? You recall that one? So there's also seawater flooding. And what are the 3 different types of floods? 3 different types of flood. Alexander, can you recall any?
Flash flood.
Flash floods. Leticia, can you recall the second type?
Rapid onset or something.
Okay, rapid onset flood. And the final type would be what, Irma?
Slow onset flood.
Slow onset flood. So previously we discussed what may cause the flooding, and then we discussed what are the 3 types of flooding. I would like to thank you, class, for your participation. Thank you very much.